Every single year we get a bunch of Legends Limiteds. Some are better than others, some of them are just terrible decisions. But there are also some insanely good decisions. But in this video today, I will be putting all the Legends Limiteds that released in 2024 on a tier list based on how necessary of a release they were. Okay, my name's Zakashi guys, and in this video here, we're going to be doing a tier list, and I'm going to be tier listing, like I just said, how necessary every single Legends Limited release was this year. There's definitely at least one Legends Limited that you felt definitely did not need to drop, and through this tier list I'll be putting them at a 10 if I felt like they definitely needed to drop versus a 0 where they served basically no purpose or had a negative effect on the game. Let's get into this. We cannot do a tier list without shouting out the boy Dingy, DNGEE_YT, because he's the one that makes the tier list template. So if you want to go ahead and make your own tier list, go ahead and follow him on Twitter. He's now on the move to 5,000 followers, and you can get his tier list over here. So you press this tweet and then it will be in the replies depending on which type of tier list you want to make. Alright, so we've got the tier list here and we've got all our Legends Limited at the bottom row. We've got 17 of them: Goku, Super 17, Super Vegeta, Super Baby 2, Nappa Vegeta, Fusing Vegito, Fusing Gogeta, God Goku, Ultimate Gohan, Omega Shenron, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, Triku, Gotenks, Vegito Blue, Rose, Daimaku, and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Obviously doing this now because I'm assuming they're only going to drop an Ultra for the finale of the festival. And honestly, it's been a lot of Legends Limiteds, I'm not going to lie. Now, I feel like the best way to do this would be to go in chronological order. So we're going to start from Goku and then end at Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and in addition to that, I'll probably do a separate video specifically for the ultras. There's going to be a lot less ultras, of course, but then I can spend more time specifically talking about them. As we've got 17 here, I'm not going to do a lot of talking about every single one of them, but I'll give my explanations for each of them quite briefly. Okay, so we got Goku at number 9. The only reason he's that high is because he was the starting point for GT, alongside with the Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but we're not talking about Zenkais here, just the Legends Limited releases. This guy's release here was the beginning of GT, and they did a good job of starting with him because he has the endurance and he's able to cancel burst off everything, I believe, except blue cards. So he's able to give them that survivability off rip. They didn't make him perfect, he's not no Margin Buu Saga unit, but he was good enough to get the foot in the door for GT to be meta relevant. Just Zenkai G4 and this guy running, he's not perfect, so he's not a 10, so he didn't make them immediately the greatest, but just for them to get an amazing start, I think Goku is really good, which is why I've got him at a 9. He wasn't the most overpowered unit, but he was a very good sniper. He can remove your vanish, I believe. He's quite crafty. He doesn't have like key on entry because he's too young. I don't get key on entry, but you know, he was a good starting point and people were very much somewhat wild with him, and people that used him know that he was putting out good numbers early doors, but he wasn't the greatest thing, especially coming out of the festival in 2023. But for GT, I have to give him a 9. We've got Super 17 now. Super 17 being at 7 is still pretty high, especially for how dominant he was. I think he's only this high because he was super overpowered for him being a Battle Hour Legends Limited. They revealed him at the Battle Hour in Los Angeles 2024, so he's meant to be good. You know, they hyped him up, they gave him amazing animations, and because he serves a purpose for GT, he's high up on the list, but he was way too dominant on other teams, which is why he's not as high as he could be. If he was specifically tailored for GT, I'd actually have him at a 10, but he was being run on almost everything but GT. Absolute menace with Red Cell, and then posted around the time of Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, he literally was just an absolute menace. You know, people say he has resemblance to that dictator in the 1940s, so that already tells you how bad of a release he was in terms of what he was doing to the game. But necessary, I would say, because he served the purpose on GT, and he also changed the meta's current state. People were consistently using Son Family and just praying that Beast Gohan wouldn't catch them with a knee to the back or something, you know. So I think he kind of shifted the meta, which is why I have him at 7, and that was necessary. But then it wasn't really like a good shift, it was more so just taking it under new management, but only because he slightly buffed GT and he was a factor for the Battle Hour. I have him at 7. He could easily be lower if he wasn't a Battle Hour LF, but he's at 7 just because GT needed the stuff, man. Even though it wasn't his main team at that time, they needed the stuff, man. Next, we got Super Vegeta, because he didn't do anything. This was a pure fan service drop just to have the legendary finish animations in the game. If you summon for him, all you got is animations. No damage, no kit, bro. It's just empty. He served no purpose. He's worth nothing. I swear, they even gave him extra nice equipment and whatnot, but it just wasn't enough. I think they even Zenkai'd 8 Vegeta. They tried their best, man. Clearly not. Why am I lying for them? They didn't try. They just put some decent animations, you know, and they thought it was going to be enough, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Its animations aren't even that good, in my opinion. I do like the final flash or whatever, but this Vegeta is truly a bum, just like he was in the series. Loaded up that final flash for nothing. Loaded up all these animations for nothing, man. He should really be at a 0. I don't even know why I don't have him at a 0. But I think just because, you know, Vegeta Clan needed some stuff, even though they weren't even using him, you know, I'll just give him a 1 just to be nice. I don't need to slam him that hard. And it's not like he was a toxic release. He was pretty fun for the people that used him on the boost, I would say. But he served very little purpose. That's something we have to emphasize. We've got Legends Limited Super Baby 2. Super Baby 2 here. The only reason he's not at a 10 is because he released prior to the anniversary. The timing of his release was very, very bad. Super Baby 2, he's not the most popular guy, but not to say he's not popular, but he's definitely not the most popular guy and nowhere near it. So a lot of people, they looked at him and was like, okay, I don't think I should summon for this guy. Even if he is good, he wasn't like a top 1 unit. Even if he is good, the anniversary is right around the corner, and the anniversary is definitely going to bring us something peak. With that being the case, if I summon on Super Baby 2 right before the anniversary, all my Chrono Crystals go on Super Baby 2, I'm going to miss out on the anniversary. We didn't know it at the time, but of course, we got 2 Fusion Warriors, which everybody was super hyped for. Imagine using all your CC on Super Baby 2 to miss out on 2 Fusion Warriors. That's nuts, you know? Just the natural anticipation for the anniversary really sold this guy, but for what he provides on GT, and even as a powerful opponent, he can even fit on Saiyan, you know? He's literally one of the best defense units, especially on the boost. People just didn't see his value. And then on top of that, as an offensive unit, if his gauge is full, you know, I call him Super Gauge 2, Gauge Araga, Maharaga. The adaptation, genius. Every time his gauge fills, if he hits an ultimate, he's gonna, you know, lock you in. He's basically what people love about Majin Vegeta without the endurance and the buff nullification. But he is a very good unit. You can build defensively. He can also aid you in some offensive prowess. And he's also a support unit for the anti-Saiyan stuff, you know. So he's not to be slept on. I would actually say he's a more valuable release than Bomku, but I'm not ordering the tiers. They're just individually. He's also a 9. He's also a 9. So yeah, it's only because of his timing. You know, if he released where Bomku released, he would be a 10. Or if he released after the anniversary, I think he'd also be a 10. But especially after the anniversary, actually, he'd be a 10, but he didn't. So I'm keeping him at a 9. Next, we got Nappa and Vegeta. And this is actually, well, it was going to be my first 10, but I have to put it at a 9 for the same reasons as Super Baby 2 releasing prior to the anniversary. Nappa and Vegeta would be that unit, bruh. They would be that, bruh, if they released earlier or later. And I say that because they served a lot of purpose in buffing Vegeta Clan. During the anniversary, if you had Nappa and Vegeta, you could actually run one of the most dominant teams in the game, which was actually Vegeta Clan, especially with the fusing Vegito and Gogeta. But we're not going to add that in as a factor because that was after the release of this guy. So we're going to base it off the time of their release, right? This unit here, they brought back Lineage of Evil because Ultra Golden Frieza was around, and you could also run them on powerful opponents, and that would make a very good survivability team. Ultra Golden Frieza was in existence. I think he was already out, but even if he wasn't out, let's just assume Ultra Golden Frieza came after. Whether my memory is bad or good, it doesn't really matter right now because the point is to serve something. And Nappa and Vegeta, they were a nice addition to Ultra Golden Frieza. For the time of their release, they were really, really good. They did a really good job, you know. People just slept on them obviously because of the timing, especially me. I wouldn't have summoned on them anyways, but the timing just wasn't good. But everything else that they served in the game in terms of them having the revival, they were actually nullifying a lot of things. Like I believe they nullified the key reduction, destroy cards, things like that. So it allows them to be in the running. They weren't super powerful, but they were a nice addition to the teams that they serve. Even on the Saiyan team in general, you could run them and you get results out of them. They were very much one of those units swept under the rug. But in terms of a necessary release, I think they were very good in buffing powerful opponents, Lineage of Evil, and then obviously we know for the future, but I'm not gonna include that as for my reasonings. They served the purpose with Vegeta Clan, but even at the time, because we even got Super Vegeta, they were good for Vegeta Clan. They were holding it up, if we're being honest, and people thought like, cool, let me run Vegeta Clan. I could actually do something with this Vegeta Nappa unit. So yeah, that's why they are at number 9. Somebody's gonna call me out and say glazing or whatever, but hey, Fusing Super Vegito is our first 10, and I have him at a 10 for a number of reasons. First of all, it's the anniversary. So if we're talking about necessity, we need the anniversary to beat something that we've previously got. It needs to be better than the 5th anniversary, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. And the amount of hype that this guy garnered based on him having Kakarot animations alone is insane. But on top of that, he basically forced the meta to reset because of his Rising Rush mechanic. Now, obviously, somebody screaming in the comment section talking about oh, but he was so toxic, that's so toxic, winning Rising Rushes, I agree with you, but this is the anniversary here. This guy is a hype factor. In terms of necessity for a hype factor, everybody would be a lot more upset if it was something worse. I'm telling you. On top of him being one of the most, if not the most, in my opinion, he was the most, but of course, I'll talk about Gogeta in a second. This guy here, he was the best in the game. For good reason, because of his Rising Rush. So he served this purpose of being the hypest thing in the game. He reset the game in a sense because he was the most overpowered thing. Especially when we was in that powerful opponent terrorist-like times with Super 17 Golden Frieza and then adding Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan on. He basically forced all those teams to back down a bit. And I think that is a necessity with certain points in this game. The meta does need to be reset, and he did that. But he also garnered the hype that was deserved of the anniversary, which is why people are looking back on the anniversary now while we're in the festival thinking, hey man, the anniversary was a good time. Naturally. So that's why he's our first 10. The timing of his release was perfect. The purpose he served was perfect. And of course, he looks amazing. Now, somebody's calling me out again for being biased, but I'm not. But I've got Fusing Gogeta Blue at 9. And the only reason I have him at 9 is because his Strike Assault was obviously flawed. We know it to be flawed right now, so I don't need people to be glazing him so hard. But obviously at the time, he didn't serve as much purpose as he would have if there was already an amazing purple, or he had G4 released before him, which just isn't possible. You know, he just wasn't as good as Fusing Super Vegito. Even though he's a bigger hype factor than this guy, his animations weren't better, but just as a character, Gogeta Blue garners more hype than Vegito in my opinion, just from a Dragon Ball standpoint. Obviously Vegito gets more sales, that's shown through 2nd anniversary Vegito Blue and Ultra Vegito Blue. But in general, as the Dragon Ball Super Broly release, Gogeta Blue is probably the biggest hype factor we can get out of Dragon Ball. But his kit just didn't suffice in addition to his animations. Like I remember people specifically saying the previous Legend Limited Gogeta Blue's animations are better than this one. And I actually agree with that. This one's animations isn't bad, but it's just not better. And of course, the simple thing that his Strike Assault, you have to slander card first before you can chain it. It doesn't get cover no, besides from the Strike Assault. So like, there's just a lot of things that could have been cleaned up easily that weren't, which is why I can't give him the 10. But for a release in terms of bringing hype into the game, looking good in general, all of that else, it was really good. But his kit just didn't, you know, hit that peak that I wanted it to, which is why it's not a 10. That's why I say for a necessary release, he didn't serve as much as a purpose. Plus being yellow, Super 17's at your back door, bruh. Long day. We've got Super Saiyan God Goku at 4. That's a very low number, but it could have been lower. But the only reason he's not lower is because he was meant to be even a part 1 unit in a lot of people's eyes. He was meant to be a headliner, and when he didn't show up for the start of the anniversary, people really lost hope thinking that, yeah, it's over for this guy, he's not headliner worthy. The hype died down. People were begging for him. People really thought he was going to drop. But the only reason he's a 4, not a 3, 2, or 1 is because, for one, his kit is way better than Super Vegeta's. Let's not even compare these two, right? Even though this guy didn't serve as much purpose in terms of his kit value, they're just not near. But the next thing I want to say is that this guy is a very good fan service machine. People have been screaming for a God Goku Legends Limited for a long time, and they finally got that. I'd say people wanted this more than a this. People wanted a Vegeta clan unit, but I think God Goku really was at the peak of what people want, aside from like Fusion Zamasu. And they actually released him, they did his animations justice. He was a very good look. But he can't go higher than a 4 because he just got squashed. He served no purpose. He was worthless. Green, and you can't even stop this guy. And then Ultimate Gohan releases alongside you, which makes you a stinker. Just put the fries in the back. 4 might even be too high, I'll be honest. But I'm going to leave him at 4 because the fan service gimmick was really high. And people wanted him. Whether he was mid or not, People wanted him, man, and the screens for him were loud, so I have him at a 4. So we've got Ultimate Gohan at a 4 for the same level as God Goku. And probably someone's thinking, huh, that makes no sense. Well, if you weigh it up in different senses, it would make a lot of sense. So we have God Goku here because his kit served no purpose, but for every other reason, he was a good drop. Oh, my voice crack. But then Ultimate Gohan, right? His kit was amazing, but for every other reason, he was a bad drop. We didn't need him at all. Like, what the hell? Nobody was expecting an Ultimate Gohan with the Majin Buu Saga buffs. I guess you can kind of say it makes sense now because of Daima and how it links to Majin Buu Saga. It's literally post Majin Buu Saga arc. But come on, dog. Besides from your kit being top 1, yeah, like, this guy was just not something we wanted or needed for the anniversary hype level, which is why I have him at 4. Fair enough, he's insane. And you could even put him at 5, right? Because he did actually bring Majin Buu Saga to the top. Just him single-handedly with Evil Majin Buu. Them 2 releases just together was enough. So I might actually leave him at 5 and not 4. Because 4 is insane, I think, for Ultimate Gohan. But I think they really went overkill with the way they designed his kit. They made him too oppressive, but you know, that's a typical Gohan. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do that. They could have nerfed him a bit more, especially with the sense of how good God Goku is. His kit is absolutely berserk. So outside of his kit, for every other factor, this guy wasn't a necessary drop. We didn't need to get him, but they did. And it is what it is. Legends Limited Omega Shenron, we have him at 8, and he could easily be a 9 if Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta didn't drop. At the time of his release, a lot of people were just nuking this guy, but he had the protection of Rage Shenron, and I think that's what made him really nice. Immediately people were thinking, why would they drop a green if they just dropped Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? And an LF after the Ultra has dropped is berserk, like right after. That's insane. And a green one at that when they just dropped a purple Goated top 1 unit. Rage Shenron really did protect this guy, I'm not gonna lie, but the indestructible factor is good and the defensive neutral on his kit is good. He adds a bit more to GT having the indestructible, but the reason he's not a 9 is because even with that being the case, people weren't using him on GT as his main team, but Majin Buu Saga or powerful opponents, which is why it's a downer. But as a unit release, it didn't seem like it at first, but looking back at it, he was a very good option for the time. We just couldn't see it because immediately you see the element and you see how good Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is and you just want to write it off. But if you really think about it, he'd served a major purpose at that time to basically go against the likes of the Fusion Warriors. We already have Gogeta, Vegito, and G4 at this time. For the meta, he was a very good release alongside Rage Shenron. But then also just to add more factors to GT, you know, that they needed it. They weren't being used in the anniversary at all, which is insane. But then when this guy dropped, people felt the need to somehow use them, especially with G4. It made a lot of sense. We've got the legendary Super Saiyan Broly Legends Limited. I've got him at a 5. I feel very weird about him because I just feel like he just didn't hit the ceiling that he's supposed to. I feel like they always somehow missed the mark with Brolys. They haven't done a good Broly really and truly since they dropped like the Ultra Broly Plat and the Blue Broly that dropped with the Gogeta Blue in like 2020 or something. I feel like they somehow always miss the mark with Broly. This Broly here has a little good gimmick where you can't switch out if he's transformed and he's comboing, but he needs to do more damage if that's going to be something that's going to be threatening to you. He doesn't have any survivability or anything like that, so he's really just a unit that was dropped as part of the Sagas from the Movies campaign that's meant to be fun. I think he served more purpose than God Goku, but for the shape of the meta, his element just kept him safe mostly, but he could also just be a victim by fusing Super Vegito. But then that's pretty much it, you know. On the offensive end, he was good. They just killed off fusing Gogeta Blue for no reason, which was like, what the hell? But there was nobody else he was really there to counter at the time that was really oppressive, unless I'm missing something. He was like a good release in terms of how he looked, and the Saga from the Movies campaign, it was fitting, but his kit didn't move enough. Like, people used him for that one season he was on the boost, or the 2 seasons he was on the boost or whatever, and then after that he faded away pretty quickly once they dropped more of the Sagas from the Movies campaign units. So for a unit that's meant to be oppressive, he didn't do his job as good as he could have, and that's why I feel like he shouldn't be higher than a 5 in terms of a necessary drop. But he does look amazing. He's one of the better legendary finishes that we got this year for sure. undoubtedly, he looks amazing. We've got Triku here as a 10, and that should go without saying because every time they drop an Ultra, they go out their way to counter it, and G4 was still running scot-free at this point, being an absolute menace. Even with Majin Buu Saga being one of the GOATed teams, or if not the most GOATed team, you could add G4 to that team and even run him on other teams, and that team will hold up alone just because of how oppressive he was. Triku isn't necessarily hype. He's a unit that came alongside the Sagas from the Movies campaign, but in terms of the purpose he served in PvP in the game, he did it. He did it. He shut down G4. He did get a little help in the future with Ultra Turles, but at his time of his release, guys saw his value and were using him appropriately. At that time, he wasn't the best because he needs a team with survivability. So you could place him on Majin Buu Saga and get results out of him, but on his release specifically, his sole purpose was to defeat G4. And if you used him appropriately, you could get that result. He just didn't have the strongest team yet because Sagas from the Movies was in the process of being built. So for that, I have to give him his props. Of course, he wasn't the strongest unit, but how necessary? He's definitely one of those necessary units because you need to stop that GOAT, bro. UG4 was very oppressive. Very oppressive. And just because the meta is in a bad shape now, people might reminisce and think, oh, I wish I could go back to the anniversary when UG4 was meta. Boy, it wasn't great then either. It was just better than it is now. So I think this guy here, just stopping him was a big factor, but I think because of the Majin Buu Saga being around him, it gives a bad aftertaste for how much value this guy should have, because Majin Buu Saga was already and still is such a dangerous team, you know. But he did his job. He did his job, so I have to give him a 10. No, giving him a 10 would be insanely biased to UG4's existence. We've got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks at a 6. I've given him a 6 because he's a Majin Buu Saga unit. I would have given him a 10 if they restricted his kit to Fusion Warriors, but they didn't. Fusion Warriors don't have survivability. They're just oppressive demons. You know, that's all they do. Do damage and then they fall off due to power creep, you know. That just is what it is. G4, fair enough, he came with his counter, but that's like the most we've got since Ultra Super Vegeta with his endurance. So this guy being for Fusion Warriors is the reason he's a 6. But because he can be used on Majin Buu Saga, it's also the reason he's a 6. If it was just a Fusion Warrior buff specifically, I might give him even an 8 or a 9, maybe even a 10. But because he's on Majin Buu Saga, it knocks him down a lot. And, you know, we've already got so many endurance units on Majin Buu Saga, and plus the ability to cancel buffs on Majin Buu Saga in general gives this a very bad aftertaste when this guy drops in addition, man. They were just doing too much on it. They were doing too much on it, and that's all it is, to be honest. It's simply the fact that he's a Majin Buu Saga unit. If he wasn't, he would have a such higher rating. If he was locked into Fusion Warriors, he'd have a much higher rating. Even if they locked him into Hybrid Saiyan, he would have at least an 8. You know, but I can't give him more than a 6, even though I love his animations. But we also have to point out that this guy released right prior to the festival. Nobody really wants to spend on you right prior to the festival, though. I'm not gonna lie there. He did have a good job on Majin Buu Saga with the extra endurance. He also helps Fusion Warriors and even Hybrid Saiyans. He does help all of those teams, but because he helps Majin Buu Saga, I can't give him more than a 6, man. Animations are nice though, but the timing is also bad. I could even say he's a 5, but I'm gonna leave him at 6. We've got Legends Limited Vegito Blue. Now, I have him at 8 because of how valuable his kit is, but there's so many reasons why you might want to put him lower, but I think at 8 is very reasonable for the state of the game pre-festival. If we really address it, everybody was using Majin Buu Saga or Triku and Turles, Powerful Opponent, the movies with Ultra Majin Vegeta. Bro, any variation of those survivability as teams, it's a problem. And with the counter gauge from UMV, it's a problem, man. The game wasn't fun to play, and I know a lot of people were complaining. But with Vegito Blue's ability to just ignore gauges, I think that's a big factor for him being high on this list. But the selection of it being Vegito Blue is like, someone needs to be drug tested. They could have gave his whole kit to just somebody else. What the hell, boy? They really gassed up Future just to drop another Vegito Blue. That is insane work. That is crazy work. I'm not even mad at it that much because I love Vegito. I'm always here for a Vegito. But I didn't expect them to really do that because I didn't want to spend so many Chrono Crystals on a Vegito Blue. But here we are, you know. Him being a Vegito Blue is reason why he's not a 10. If his kit was in somebody else's character, he'd be a 10. So I had to knock him down 2 points, but he's also the reason why the meta is slightly better, you know, at his release than when it was pre-festival. he literally somewhat corrected the meta, because if you're running Vegito Blue, you can at least get through all these counter gauges, and that will be something of a saving grace. It's not the best solution because he's still not better than Ultra Margin Vegeta, but it's the best thing you've got, which is why he's at 8 and not lower than that. But boy, this is a crazy selection for a festival headliner, man. I'm not gonna lie, this year with the Fusion Warriors, bugging. We've got Goku Black Rose, and I think it's because he doesn't add enough to be higher than this. The unit selection was bad, even though he does look good, and he's actually more so of an addition to the problem than fixing the problem. We already have all these endurance units that cancel buffs, and this guy just comes along with endurance and cancelling buffs. That's not helping our current situation, my guy. On top of the fact that you're yellow, that's also not helping our situation. And then why are you dropping? Where's Zamasu, bro? Where's Zamasu? Why did you leave him at home? You should have brought him out and then fuse with him. But instead, you want it to be Sparking Zero alternate timeline, and you're the only one that's here in the future arc. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? They should have dropped him with fusion with Zamasu so they can fuse, so they can create fusion Zamasu. That's what they needed. That's what they needed, but they didn't do that. So for a unit choice, you know, he looks good, which is why he's even hitting a 5. But the selection is terrible. The kit that he has just doesn't serve enough purpose, and even if it does serve purpose, it's going towards the enemies, which will be Majin Buu Saga and the powerful opponent BS. So I don't want to give it more than a 5. I should even give it a 4 maybe, but he looks clean. That's the only reason I don't want to give it lower than a 5. He looks clean, you know. It's a festival unit at the end of the day. Goku Black Rose is hype in general, but it's the anticipation for something else that really soiled it for him, I would say. But of course, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. We've got the Daima Goku at 7. Daima is something that's gonna get pumped out, but I really feel like they're doing it really fast. Like anytime something happens in the episodes, boom, they drop it straight away. There's no delay, there's no wait. Like, god damn, did they even move with the Broly movie this fast? They do not wait. Give it 48 hours after something happens in Daima. You were seeing it in Legends, bro. Not in any other Dragon Ball games not getting releases like this. They're using Legends as the poster boy, but I feel like they're doing it too fast. But Daima Goku is really good and his animations are insane, so I'm giving it a 7. But goddamn, slow down, you know? And especially for the festival, not to say that it's not hype, and a lot of people have had this debate, right? Some people are directly associating the fact that Daima Goku is new because of the series. The series is new, which means that it's going to be hype. But not everything that comes out new is hype. New isn't equal to hype. A lot of people directly try to make that correlation, and a lot of people are not invested in Daima, you know? A lot of people are invested in Daima, and maybe for different reasons. This Goku does have amazing animation, but at the end of the day, it's a kid Goku that just did a Kamehameha into like a stomach punch. We've seen Kamehamehas millions of times, you know. Maybe that's downplaying it a little, because I love the Daima Goku. I summon for him and not the Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But boy, man, I feel like they're just pumping it out too quickly. They could have gave us other things for the festival, but they decided to go with the Daima route because of what happened in the recent episodes. So, you know, I don't think it's bad, but I just think it's coming out too fast. And overall, he looks good, and his kit does have purpose with him being red. The simple saving grace is that he's red. If they made him any other element, I'd give him like a 4. The biggest point here is the fact that he's red. He cancels all of these yellows that we've got. Rose, fusing Gogeta, even though he's pretty much fallen off. Triku, Ultra Margin Vegeta, you know, he's in a good position to have value just because of how many yellows there are. Alright, so we've got the final one here at a 0. Super Saiyan 2 Goku into Super Saiyan 3 Goku. There are so many issues with this release, I don't know where to start. But let's start with the fact that he's green, right? He's green. We have all the Super Saiyan 3 premium units being green. The Ultra is going to be green. When they drop that, it's going to be green. I'm telling you. I'll put everybody's soul. If it's actually green, that's nasty work. But they shouldn't have been green. I know he's Majin Buu Saga, but even then, that's the next point. That's an issue in itself. Majin Buu Saga, guess that needs a green. You have evil Majin Buu, but bro, why are you releasing a Majin Buu Saga unit? If you want to push the Diamond stuff, they drop too many Majin Buu Saga things for you to really be saying that, oh yeah, it's because of Diamond and Majin Buu Saga. Bro, we have Ultimate Gohan. We've got Fusing Super Vegito. We've got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. We've got Ultra Majin Vegeta. We've got Evil Majin Buu. We've got Shin. Even free to play 18. All of these Majin Buu Saga units are dunking on us. They're just dunking on us easily, bro. Oh, man. It's like CR7 up for a free kick. You know it's going in. It's a problem. Anyways, what else we got with this guy that's just an issue? Why is he cancelling buffs? Every Majin Buu saga either gets endurance or they cancel buffs or they get both. That's greedy. That's too much. It's too much. It's actually excessive at this point. It's getting suffocating. No, it is suffocating. My neck, I can't breathe. I cannot breathe, bro. Why do you keep dropping Majin Buu saga units? That's so... oh man. Oh man. Anyways, in addition to that, it's the festival, right? So do you have to drop something hype? And I'm not trying to say Super Saiyan 2 into Super Saiyan 3 Goku isn't hype, but he doesn't serve any type of new mechanic purpose, man. They could have made him a double transforming unit. So at least it's like what happened in the anime, you know, in the manga. He went Super Saiyan 1, then he goes Super Saiyan 2, then he goes even further beyond into Super Saiyan 3. That would have been something new. But again, they just make him a simple transforming unit. And then the icing on the cake for why this guy's a zero. This guy has created an infinite combo glitch. If you have indestructible in this game, and you're running this guy with Ultra Margin Vegeta and Vegito Blue, you're going to lose by a free 30 million damage gap, especially if you don't choose to sack somebody off. There is infinite combos in Dragon Ball Legends now, and that's a problem. There's definitely going to be some sort of battle mechanic upgrade where they implement a new mechanic. I'm praying for a block mechanic, because having the ability to do not even 99 combos, they should be 999 combos because of this guy's release. Infinite combos, drawing cards, every green card he draws hella cards. Bro, it's too much. It's too much. This is an absolute zero. I'm not even going to give his animations the benefit of the doubt because they're not even that great. That little right hand punch, man, if you don't get out of here, boy. Yeah, that's an easy zero. Too many problems on that one. I had to give him all the time in the world to express how much of a disgust it is that he released. But shout out the boy Ryuden, I know you smiling. But yeah, man, that's going to be my tier list. Obviously, it's a different tier list, and I'm trying to bring out a lot more creative videos, discussions. Let me know your thoughts on how I placed people. Is there anything you obviously disagree with? Let me know in the comment section, because this is just all my deductive reasonings. I could easily see things shifting places based on reasons you might want to give yourself. So of course, leave your input down below. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, man. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.